Welcome back, guys. Today we've got every generation of the BMW M3 lined up, starting all the way back from the E30 M3 to the current G80 and G82 M4. We want to show you guys every unique feature about every generation, the chassis, the engines, the transmissions. And for us, you know, everyone here at Studio is pretty much a BMW diehard fan. So a lot of this information, all you BMW gurus out there are probably going to know. But if you do know those answers, keep a lookout for the pop quiz questions that we're going to put up throughout the video. And if you get those answers right, please put them in the comments below and we'll be sending you guys some goodies. Besides that, at the end of the video, we're going to be talking about some of the controversial topics about the G80 M3 and the G82 M4. So stay tuned for that. But besides that, let's get to it. Alright guys, so let's start off with the first generation E30 M3, starting from 1986 and ending in 1991. This is still heralded as one of the best handling M3 chassis that was ever made. I remember watching BMW M's videos about how they designed the car, why they made it, and a lot of more particular challenges from the technology available back then had to be overcome. And I know one cool fact about the E30 M3 is that because steel wasn't as the designs and again technology of engineering back then couldn't make a chassis as stiff as they are today, and a normal street car that's even a non-M is still stiffer than this car, but during its time the stiffness and the handling of this car was unmatched. One of the cool facts about that car is that BMW M actually used the windshield as a thicker glass to help make this chassis even stiffer. So moving on from the first generation E30 M3, we have the E36 M3. The second generation M3, obviously, and BMW decided not, for the US market, to not put individual throttle bodies on the M engines. This generation actually came with two different engine types. In 1995, the first was the S50, which was a 3-liter M engine. And in 1996 to 1999, it came with an S52, also known as the OBD2 M3, and that was a 3.2 liter inline 6. This is still the preferred chassis for, you know, having a budget track car. Very capable chassis. Just needed some power. So if you guys recognize this engine, this is the S54 from the E46 M3. So if you guys are E36 guys or M3 guys, you know that E36 chassis is still heralded as one of the best handling chassis for the track, but it lacked power from the S50 or the S52. So putting in an S54 was kind of like the finishing off piece to having that very, very finely tuned M3. And stay tuned for more as we build this car up. As you see, when we got it, it still has wiring everywhere. This reservoir, it just needs a little love, so we want to make sure it's going to handle a good amount of racing and sessions back to back, and we might even do some endurance racing with this car, so we'll see. But moving on from the E36 M3, we move on to the E46 M3 generation. This is when I feel like the forums and enthusiasts really got deep into modifying M3s, and straight away from the purist of keeping an M3 stock. And the E46 M3 was a great platform for a lot of us to really tune the car and add modifications and make it even better than what it already was from the factory. Obviously the E46 M3 came with an inline 6 individual throttle body S54 engine, 3.2 liter, with crazy Vanos at the time and a very big rasp from the exhaust. A lot of you guys might not like rasp from the S54, but for me personally, it's kind of a trademark sound. You know, you can hear that rasp whenever an E46 M3 is coming down the street. This example is a VF supercharged car that we just validating the installation for. So we'll get this tested one last time and then send it back to its customer. Moving on from the E46, we have the E9X M3 generation. We say E9X because this is the first time BMW changed the name of the chassis to separate the coupe from the sedan. So obviously sedans are E90 M3s, 4 doors, and the coupes are E92 M3s. This is the first time BMW put a naturally aspirated V8 into the M3, you know, switching away from their inline 6 design philosophy for the powertrain. And this engine is still one of the best sounding V8s available out there. And there's another kind of sound that's very particular to different generations of the M3s. In this generation also, BMW first introduced the dual clutch transmission, which was a world-changing feel from the SMGs that were in the E46 M3 and SMG1, which was actually an E36 M3 in Europe. Dual clutch transmission combined with the S65 V8 made this still one of the most sought after track cars. For us, the S65 V8 still sounds good, but it's not enough torque for what modern cars have today. And moving on from that, the lack of torque, in the next generation, BMW decided to finally turbocharge an inline six. So moving away from the naturally aspirated V8 in the last generation, the F80 M3 and the F82 M4 came for the first time with twin turbos. The F8X generation was also the first time BMW changed the whole name of the car to separate the sedan, which is an M3, and the coupe, which is obviously an M4. This chassis for us was not that great on the track. It's it has a lot of body roll, needs a lot of suspension tuning to put all that torque in there. So everyone complained in the E92 and E90 generations that there wasn't enough torque from the V8. The twin turbos in the S55 and the F8 generation made up for that, but it also kind of threw off that balance, and you kind of lost that M feel that we've been describing in this video. So, you know, great car, but it has to be tuned correctly for it to run as fast as possible. As I'm sure you guys know, Gabe's car is not stock, so this car is a fully track dedicated car, not just to, you know, win competitions for himself, but take our friends and people we meet at the track out in a fully built, you know, M3 race car. So this is Gabe's custom built car that we did for him. We did the 6-point cage welded in, and it's the first car in the US with 4 bucket seats in it. Moving on from the F8 generation and continuing with that theme of drivability and overall performance, this is what we've come to see in the G80 M3 and the G82 M4. And this is obviously our new project car. After driving it for just a few days and breaking it in, I can already tell that this platform's going to take off. It's going to be very hard to improve what the factory's already done so well, putting together as a whole package. Power is good enough. It's not great to what we do. We like to do is, you know, as tuners and modifying for more power. But once that ECU gets unlocked, I'm sure there's going to be a world of possibilities with that. The biggest feature of this car that I felt after driving it for a few days now is its handling. I've driven it with DSC off most of the time, without all the nanny assist and the driver assist aids, and it really feels like the car's on like 405 tires. Like the whole car is sucked to the ground going through the turns, and there's no body roll at all. So we'll be showing you guys more of that and what we plan to do with the car, so stay tuned. Alright guys, I hope you guys learned a little bit about a few of the generations of the M3. Real quick before we end the video, we just wanted to talk about some of the feedback we've heard from some of our G80 and G82 customers. So a lot of the people who bought the car, and surprisingly, if you go to the dealership, at least locally here in Los Angeles, they don't let you test drive the car. But everyone's been happy after they bought it, but their review is that it's very docile on the street. So I just wanted to explain real quick how every generation that comes out, you know, the manufacturers have to make that generation better than the last, obviously. But now that the improvement has vastly, you know, changed in magnitude from all the generations, the feeling of docile on the street, quote unquote, is a lot bigger. Because there's no way that the higher performance of the car at its limit, which you can only reach at the track, can't change how it feels on the street. So you can see that one way or the other, you know, if it's so fast on the track, shouldn't it feel more hardcore on the street? So feeling docile on the street doesn't really mean that it's less of a car. It's actually, in our eyes, better of a car because it's so fast on the track and it performs so well, but it's still very docile on the street. So just one quick tip and topic that we wanted to discuss with you guys. So if you guys agree, put that in the comments, and always like and subscribe. You know, our Instagram is @StudioRSR and our website StudioRSR.com. We'll be doing a lot more for the G80 M3 and the G82 M4. We just released a cage for it last week, so if you guys are interested, please hit us up, and thank you for watching. Oh, real quick thing, guys. The last thing. We recently took over this part of the warehouse, and this is our new storage area. So if you guys know anyone in the SoCal, Orange County area that needs a car storage, exotic car storage, I'm not sure about everyone else across the country, but driveway space is limited and we all have to have our toys. So we figured we'd take over this spot. We have a lot of toys ourselves, but we are opening it up to the public, and it's going to be called Drivers and Collectors Storage. So please stay tuned for that. The Instagram for that is @DriversAndCollectors. So yeah, give us a call if you guys need any storage needs. We appreciate you guys. Have a good one.